Welcome to Adjusted Reality, a podcast series trusted by the adjusted and brought to you by the Foundation for Chiropractic Progress, where we learn from athletes, celebrities, influencers, and healthcare professionals about how to optimize health in a fun, relatable way. Join me, Dr. Sherry McAllister, as we welcome chiropractor Dr. Spencer Barron. Now, Dr. Spencer Barron is a trailblazer in the fields of sports chiropractic with nearly 2 decades as team chiropractic physician for the NFL's Miami Dolphins and a rich legacy treating elite athletes from the MLB, NHL, and even Broadway. As the founder of Docs of Chiropractic in Sports, he champions the camaraderie, the coaching, and the excellence within the profession. A nationally recognized educator, author of Secrets of the Game, and the president of Neurosport Elite, Dr. Barron brings passion and purpose and performance to everything he does. When he's not shaping the future of chiropractic, well, of course, he's behind the lens as a professional photographer and a very proud dad. Welcome to Adjusted Reality, Dr. Spencer Barron.
Hi, Dr. Sherry. God, with that intro, I want to play that every day. That gets me really fired up.
I'm
Thank you
fired
so
up.
much.
Well,
Yeah.
first I'm fired up because I personally read the book. And the book is called The Secrets of the Game. And for those that are watching on YouTube, you can see the secrets of the game. Now, Dr. Spencer, tell me what's going to happen with this book.
We're going to come out with another one only
Yes.
because there's a constantly evolving progression of how health can be maximized through understanding what our professional athletes do.
It's
That's
so
it.
true. It's so
Yeah.
true. And, Dr. Barron, as I walk through today's interview with you and we share about adjusting people's reality, the one thing I want to start with is not only are you an impressive chiropractor, you're an immensely innovative and inspirational person. And you can't help but be in the vibe of what I'm going to call the Spencer vibe when you're with him. So I met him several years back. And it left an imprint on how I saw chiropractic. And I think it's a beautiful thing. So I want to kick this off with I know you have such an impressive historical background in being able to treat athletes who really want to optimize their performance. And that's chiropractic is kind of in that whole being care of optimizing performance and also preventing injuries. I want to ask you what first drew you to chiropractic care? And then how did that passion evolve into the focus on chiropractic, specifically more in the lines of sports?
Great. I love that question because the evolution started with, I wanted to help people. And I thought law or psychology, but they're so, in law, there's always a winner and a loser. In psychology, there was really no such thing as sports back, 45 years ago when I was contemplating what to do after high school and college. And so I then thought medical. And then but back then too, and as well as now, medical was so antiseptic and it was all about writing a prescription and here you go and here it was like assembly line care. And somebody came up to me in the gym and said, you'd be a good chiropractor. And I go, what the heck is that? What's a chiropractor? And I did some study on it and it perfectly fit with what I implore every listener to do for themselves. And that is to ask yourself the questions, what would make you happy doing a work related project that would make you happy for the rest of your life? So it was, help people in a healthy way, involve sports, and do it in a natural position, with natural, remedies and approaches. And can you be your own boss? And that fit. That was chiropractic. And I had never been to a chiropractor. And then I started studying up and I said, this is for me. My evolution in sports was more fortunate than anything. People always ask, how'd you get involved with those pro teams? And I go, you know what? it was for me, it was about something bigger than me. It was about a profession that I wanted to be proud of, that can do things for people in a healthy, whole being perspective. And I thought, this is the horse I'm going to ride into the sunset, is chiropractic. And so I ended up doing a lot for other, organizations, because I wanted to boost them up. The Dade County Chiropractic Society, because I'm in South Florida. Then I started the Florida Chiropractic Association Sports Council in like 1993. And then there was the American Chiropractic Association Sports Council. So it just kept growing exponentially for the things that I wanted to serve and do. And you know what happens? I'll tell you, Dr. Sherry, when you do so much for something bigger than yourself, people remember that. And then what they end up doing is they'll remember you. And I went on to get my CCSP, my Certified Chiropractic Sports Physician, 100 hours, and then suddenly opened up the diplomate of the American Chiropractic Board of Sports Physicians. Listen, there's only 600 of us or so in the world, and nobody knows what the heck that is. It's 300 hours of pure, unadulterated understanding of sports mechanics, everything that you want to know about sports and treating athlete from peewees to pros. And so people would remember me and they go, an opportunity came up that I would like you to be the chiropractor for the Miami Dolphins. And I go, oh, okay. Like, oh, okay. All right. That's
Okay,
cool.
how can I say
Yeah.
no?
Right. And so I had that opportunity back in 1996. And I had an experience with an athlete by the name of Dan Marino, and he is a Hall of Fame quarterback. And let me tell you, people are going, "Oh, that you're in violation by saying his name and that he's a patient." I go, "Let me tell you, I've said his name 10,000 times in front of him, and he cracks up to this day. Many years ago, he asked me to adjust him, and I said, sure, okay. He cut in front of all the players that were waiting in line. I go, oh, this guy, I don't even know who this guy is really. So I went ahead and adjusted him, got a great adjustment out of the low back, went to adjust his mid back. That was good. And went and did it again. And it felt like I hit up against a brick wall. And he goes, oh, and he sits up. And in a crowded training room, yells out loud, "You effing broke my rib." Now, at that moment, I go, I didn't break his rib, but you could hear a pin drop. There were coaches, athletic trainers, there were players all around thinking that I broke their quarterback, Hall of Famer rib. In my head, I'm going, man, I could see it now. Miami Herald posts, chiropractor breaks rib of pro athlete. Within moments, after I realized that maybe I could practice in Indonesia somewhere, where nobody knows about this. He goes, just kidding. And I went, you dog. And I still had to adjust his neck. So you can imagine, in my head, I started perspiring. But he was a patient.
This guy is a lot. He's a lot to handle.
Right. And it ended up becoming great. We have a great relationship. 17 years later, he walked by the training room. He was, obviously retired. I was talking to a player. He comes in. I go, hey, no, Sean, let me tell you, did I ever tell you what Dan Marino did to me 17 years ago? And his eyes got big. And when I told the story, he goes, oh my God, I remember that. So that
there
taught
is
me.
no other way to get adrenaline kicked in than that. And I think next time you see Marino and he hugs you, you should yell, oh my God, I think you broke my rib. We love you, Marino. We love you, but we have to mess with you back as a chiropractor. You just shut our cognitive capability down.
I love
Well,
it.
that actually is, I think, one of the things that many people that are listening today they don't reflect on, oftentimes the calling comes to you. And as you noted, someone said, have you thought about becoming a chiropractor? And I kind of think chiropractic is really a lifestyle rather than a career. And to me, we relate it in a whole being care way as kind of the lightning in a storm. It's the impact of energy that changes the way you see things versus the thunder, which is more like a career, which is like you do it, but it's not the massive impact because you're not that inspired. Like when you're in a lifestyle of chiropractic, like you live, you are thinking, being, and inspiring all around you. And it's not about pain. And when I read through your book on Secrets of the Game, tell me a little bit about, like, when you walk into that Olympic experience and you know one thing, I'm here to ensure, minus the Marinos in life, that I optimize people's performance. Like they waited their entire life. Besides professional athletes and Olympic performances, I don't know if there's any more stress that a chiropractor can have. And so many rely on us. And so few consumers understand how much they rely on us. Can you walk us through some of the pieces that really kind of maybe surprised you or maybe inspired you when you're in the Olympic reality?
Thanks, Sherry. I love these conversations because it resurrects a lot of wonderful memories that reinforce why I love why I love what I do and can't imagine ever retiring from it. You know, there was, I have to say, I think what kept me involved, what allowed me to continue being involved with pro athletes, Miami Dolphins, then the Florida Marlins, well, now they're called the Miami Marlins. And and I was even with the Panthers, the Florida Panthers, for a short time, um, because I don't know who I'm working on. I refer to myself as a Ferrari mechanic. I go in, it's doctor-patient relation. It's not fan, groupie, superstar. It is doctor-patient relationship. What's wrong? How can I help you? And the reason why sports is so outstandingly beautiful and marketable is because little Miss Jones in the office, we ask, our goal is whole being care. But when Mrs. Jones or Jojo comes in and we ask, how are you doing today? And they give it a subjective experience to their condition. I feel better, I can, move a little bit better. Everything's vague, and sometimes you think maybe they just want to make you feel good, because you have a good relationship. Sports, no way. Everything is clear, objective, based on time. It's based on speed. It's based on weight. It's based on accuracy down to the millisecond. And you know what? There's only a few variables that'll make that difference. So when we adjust a spine or extremity, you know that that's the only thing that may have made that difference in their winning and their ability to perform at the peak levels. So if that's not enough, let's go into what you tend to like, and that is the caught up in this thing, working at the Jackie Gleason Theater in Miami, and Broadway shows would come in: Les Miserables, Jesus Christ Superstar, Hair, Damn Yankees, and a host of others I'm probably missing. Cats, the Broadway show Cats makes its way through, and I didn't have a life back then, so I would spend all my days working Monday through Friday, and then work on the weekends and be there in the green room backstage taking care of these Broadway show people. Times in my life was when now Cats, if you're familiar with the makeup and the garb and everything, they come to me before they're all done up. I'll adjust, and then they go and change. And the show had started, and I'm just sitting in the green room by myself, waiting for, any stray people to come in and so on. All of a sudden I see this cat running to a woman dressed as the cat running down the hallway. Dr. Barron, Dr. Barron, yeah, my throat's tightening up. Can you adjust me? And I go, did I adjust you already? And they go, yeah, you did, but I have to be on in 15 minutes, and I gotta sing, and my throat's tightening up, and I need you. Okay, come on. So I work on the neck, I readjust, I do some lymphatic drainage, I work on the sinuses. I'm trying to balance and create vitality right now. She goes, oh, great. Thank you so much. Oh, this feels so much better. Now she starts running back down the hallway. She goes, Dr. Barron, are you going to come out and watch my scene? I go, well, I would love to. So we go to the stage manager. He's on the phone with New York, and she said, could you get him on backstage? And he goes, no. She goes, oh my gosh. So she walks to the backstage, and she goes, I'm sorry. And I walk back to the green room somewhat dejected. All of a sudden, the stage manager comes back, taps me on the shoulder. Dr. Barron, I'm sorry, I was on with New York, and they were just being nasty with me. Follow me. So we go through the bowels of the theater, and I'm not sure where I'm going. Maybe it's going to kill me down there or something like that. So we end up and we blow through the doors of the theater, which is in the very back of where the audience is. So now I got this full spectrum view of audience and the stage. Dr. Sherry, and there's the woman that I just adjusted, gloriously moving onto the stage, singing Memories, the feature song that popularized this whole Broadway show. And at that moment, I said, I just helped the woman that made all these people happy. You can't beat that. No. And I did it with my hands. That's it. No drugs, no surgery. I did it with my hands and an understanding of how the body truly functions. And she belted out those vocals, and I started tearing. It can't get any better than this. It was a beautiful moment.
It's so true. And when people recognize the benefits of chiropractic care, and we get down to not only is it functional movement, it's actually quality of life, because we're so focused on the taking away of pain that oftentimes we forget until we get into these professional athlete conversations, or these in dancers and Broadway events in like Cirque du Soleil. Like, these are extraordinary athletes, and they are super fit, and they get their body, they know their body really well. And I also kind of think it's really special because in order to be the best you can be, and in your book you write this too, there really has to be a self-love. And I think in today's world, so much of what's happening in the stress and depression and anxiety and worry is we forget to give back to ourselves and self-love, like have that moment of reflection on where I am and where I want to go. And that's where chiropractic fits in. And you do such a spectacular job of meeting the patient where they're at and then taking them where they want to go. And it's visionary for many professional athletes, but it's also visionary just for a mom who wants to pick up her daughter again. There's back pain, and then you take it to the next level.
I say that I think that the magic is in your communication skills with the patient, because you can crack backs all day long, but if you don't connect and inspire them, because I always say to my interns, a doctor is supposed to inspire your patient to get better. I don't care if it's, little, like your metaphor was perfect. A mom picking up her child. If she can't do that, and that's her one single goal in the day, then you're missing the boat if you don't ask that question. Because sometimes it's so simple. Athletes, we get it. What do you want to be able to achieve today that I can help you with? And they go through their lineup of things. But when you ask, little Mrs. Jones or grandma so and so, what do you want to do to, man, I just want to be able to get up out of my chair without low back pain. Okay, let's work on that. And if and that's where a doctor is to help a patient rise above the level of paradox, you have to be above that level of paradox. In other words, you lend a helping hand to bring them up. If you're not there and you're down here, then you're in the wrong place.
Oh, it's so true. And I've been fortunate to be able to be around different groups of people, whether it's chiropractic or a National Association of Worksite Health Clinics or the American Health Insurance Programs, or, you're with a legal team. The one thing that really motivates and inspires me is being around my brethren, because I see the love, like you really feel it. I don't know how to explain this to anybody outside of chiropractic other than when you're with your chiropractic friends, it's love. Like you're hugging and hey, can you adjust me? And you're really taking care of each other in a way that you don't see that commitment, and you don't see that companionship or camaraderie in anywhere else that I've ever been or I've ever attended a seminar. There's a very unique energized base, and I think it comes from some of the secrets that you put into the chapter on mental secrets. And it's the drills are alive with the sound of music, and you talk about using music to motivate, inspire, and energize people. I think most of how a individual can move themselves in and out of some very difficult times is having the music. And that could be just hearing someone talk to them about being better and being healthy and being strong, and that you're right where you belong. Having someone find peace in your life. And chiropractic opens up the door to finding those spots. Can you share a little bit about having to take a patient from where they are, not even knowing where they want to go because their GPS is so messed up, their navigational system, their true north is totally lost. And then you come in and you give them a direction, kind of like Google Maps in today's world. It's like, I can tell you where you want to go, even if you don't want to go there. Share with us, Dr. Barron, a little bit about, especially in sports, because it's kind of easy because the objective is to win, right? Competitively. But let's win in life. Tell me a story about when you saw a big win and the patient was kind of lost.
Well, gosh, that's very often. Chiropractic is a combination, as we were taught in school, mental, nutritional, and physical. Most of us get painted in this corner of physical, that we adjust the spine and that's it. That is integral that's the art part and the science part of our philosophy. But the reality is, if you're not tapping into the mental emotional aspect of the patient and helping them reach their goal, how would you know what it is unless you ask? So a lot of the history and consultation is just fact finding. And I always often talk about, forget about the athlete. Let's take the regular patient. Your exam, my exam begins before I even see the patient. I'll ask the front desk or the person who communicated with the patient first. How did they sound? What did they feel like? If back in the day before computers we were sending the history and consultation from, I'm not a handwriting analyst, but I could tell when a patient was troubled or in pain or feeling love or loving, and I'd be able to, and based on their occupation, if they were an accountant, I would talk more numbers. Your spine is 5 degrees off to the left. I could see you carrying your head. You have anterior translation by 10 degrees, forward. They love numbers. So it's really a matter of connecting. And if it's someone that is very auditory based and loves music, or you ask them and they're very into they practice an instrument or what have you. I'm going to focus on more auditorily based. So let me ask you, what does your conditions, feel like or sound like in the morning? Do your bones crack and pop and grind when you sit, things like that? And they go, oh my gosh, this doctor's entered my world. And that's about empathy. So your doctor better have empathy. Now, don't get me wrong. There's those crack and go docs that they serve a purpose. They see millions of people. I call them the 7-Eleven of doctors. That's fine. But if you really want whole body care and to improve your vitality and increase balance in all those areas that I talked about, mental, nutritional, and physical, then you got to find I personally think you should find somebody that specializes in sports because, I'm a little biased here, but man, nobody gets treated the same. Everything is a recipe. It's a recipe on you come in with your low back. Maybe you don't like to get adjusted. Maybe you need some, soft tissue work and and me to analyze your biomechanics. Sometimes we have to investigate what goes on in the past, or I got to tell you, this is very interesting. This is kind of strange, but this came up recently as well as multiple times in the past. Woman comes in with low back pain. She's been married for several years. Now I'm giving you a kind of a generic stereotype, but it's happened. She comes in, she's been married for several years. She has low back pain. I'm questioning, it's simple. It's a simple low back pain. It's not, blown discs with radiating pain down the nerve. And we'll talk to the patient and I'll ask the patient questions. And, I start to hear a theme. They're not happy in their marriage. They're not that. I'm adjusting their low back. And I swear to God, 25 years, 30 years ago was the first time I heard this. The patient was baiting me to ask me, I can't have sex, right? You know where this is going.
Yep.
They will actually have mental, emotional, manifestations of low back pain because they don't want to be intimate with their husband. So you know what my answer was? In a very, very delicate manner to ask them, have you been to marriage counseling to get the mental emotional aspect of why your marriage is frustrating you or maybe whatever you need to do? Because I have a feeling that would cure your low back pain. I mean, it's things like that you
how
can
how do you see that? Because when a patient hears that could be taken also as a trigger. And
yes.
I see that as I walked through the Bruce Lipton, having him kind of talk about your belief system and when you find your trigger, sometimes just being able to recognize that trigger and
Yes.
then ask yourself, why did it trigger you? How do you see some of the patients when instinctively, and I know and after you've been in this profession for more than a decade, you get a sense before you put your hands on a patient, this is more than just a physiological issue. This has an opportunity for us to get into the mental aspect of care. How do you deal with a patient to take them from that without being insulted? What do you mean my back pain is made up because I have problems with my husband? Because you and I both I heard you, and within 90% of the thing, as soon as they start talking about something that is bothering them, they typically will try to figure out how not to have this problem, but try to figure out how to get out of it in a way that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be easy. And sometimes they want to change it because sometimes we're fearful of change.
Sherry, there are two things that I stress most about that I emphasize. I said the word stress doesn't sound right, that I emphasize most about being a chiropractor or any healthcare provider for that matter. But as a chiropractor, you must be a black belt 10th degree at adjusting and, be able to, polish that art form and understand the science. As far as the mental emotional part, the second most important thing is have extraordinarily superior communication skills, because that is where I shared with you a story and you would think right off the bat that, wow, people might get really offended. No, it is a very delicate maneuver or conversation. It's based on trust. And it's as a healthcare provider, I don't sit there and go, hey, you must have problems in your married life. Why don't you go to a marriage counselor and not waste my
Your low
time?
back will be
No,
fine.
yes. There was recently a patient that may listen to this program, so I'm going to be very generic about this. Um, she's been getting treated for many, many, many years, and there was always a condition. And I saw times where she would be liberated from this pain when she would do a certain activity and sport and all that, and be like completely pain free and fantastic. I delved into her, when I'm adjusting, I'll ask questions or they'll share stories about their childhood or so on. I'm not a psychologist, but I'm empathetic enough to go, what would happen? How would you feel if you were completely out of pain? And then I'm quiet. I go, they can't answer that. I go, because I think pain has become your identity. And without pain, you may not get the attention that you're used to getting, or you may not feel comfortable without some sort of trauma going on. And I can adjust you from here to eternity, but let's explore other areas of where this could go. And I got to tell you, I have never hurt the feelings of a patient, and as far as I know, because I feel that I have patients for life. I have friends for life. I have, relationships for life. And that's what's important, is before you step into that darkness, you better know that there's a hand out there that's providing trust and comfort, because I'm going to bring you out of that confusion, or at least help, or at least find somebody. That's another thing that we're responsible for, is being able to refer to others if we're not experienced enough, and whatever it might be. There's chiropractors out there that specialize in neurology, pediatrics, animal chiropractic, right? Um, and I could go down the list, pregnancy and things like that. That's not my specialty. I know where my lane. You know what? I think it's time that I refer you to another chiropractor that specializes in this area.
You
And that's
nailed a
how
couple
we
of
have
really
that
key pieces there.
cohesiveness.
One being
Yeah.
that it's the hand to help you, the hand up. Patients really need to reflect that they're getting the care they want and desire. And it's hard to cope when you have no hope. It's worse to have no hope and you functionally cannot cope. And until you have that patient in your office and that full round quote comes, patients don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. That's the building of the bridge of trust.
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
And if you're seeing any healthcare professional who you feel uncomfortable with in the presence of, or you reflect that you feel nervous or uncomfortable talking to them about what's going on, I think that's a vote with your feet. You need to leave the office. And I think it's also why the Gallup survey comes out with chiropractors being at 97 to 98% patient satisfaction rate, is because we cannot take the luxury of not bringing in mental health and awareness, because we know physically pain can be absorbed, trauma can be absorbed through the human neuromusculoskeletal system. What that means is, like, when you get out of the shower, if you're in a very dry environment and you put the lotion on, and it literally changes the largest organ in your body, it absorbs it. Why wouldn't we absorb other things that have happened in our life? And why would we think that, we have this, superhero reality that, oh, I no pain no gain? And you said that in the book. It's like, that doesn't make sense. When you end up in a situation where you're working so hard, you're damaging your body, what's the outcome? And you do such an elegant job in the secrets of the game of going into, you want to be at peak performance. Well, then you're going to need to know what peak performance really looks like. And you're going to know how it tastes, feels, smells, and then reality check for those that are on adjusted reality. You have to live life in the game you choose, not that anybody else chooses. And it kind of reflects back to where you took our audience today. And I think I want to ask you what role, since you've played so many fantastic pieces, author, educator, speaker, and founder of many organizations, what role did you find personally the most fulfilling?
Actually, the most fulfilling to me is just knowing I'm in a profession that I get thrilled every day. It's something new and different, and I'm able to help, even when I'm not personally able to help. I'm able to help with an understanding of their condition, or knowing enough that I can refer to any of my colleagues or even other paraprofessionals that will help the patient get answers. The patient wants answers. They are in fear. Sometimes they think they're having a heart attack when it's really a rib out of alignment. Maybe they have, they think their kidney or their liver is bad when actually it's their low back. I mean, it's crazy things. We've had many a pro athlete come in that comes in with a complaint, and there's the problem right there, right there. And actually, that's the result of the problem. If they're a pitcher, I'm going to look at the foot. Or if they're coming in with headaches, I might look at their feet, because they may be walking funny or different. And that is what whole being care is about, is understanding that their balance is off because their biomechanics are altered because of some pain that is being generated in a certain area. Because Sherry, I know that you can totally agree. We are the masters of compensating.
Yes.
And athletes are extraordinary at compensating for their injuries. We had a pro pitcher who is the fastest pitcher in Major League Baseball come in, and he would complain about pain here, and he was getting treated all day, all season long. And I said, you know what? I said to my new doctor, I said, look, I've been working on these guys forever. It's your turn to have the glory. I go, check his toe. What? Check his toe, because the power that he pushes off with that foot may be impaired, and he's picking up the slack and the speed in the arm and shoulder. Lo and behold, the following year, the guy signed for like what, a 1.2 million or $10.2 million, I don't know, some ridiculous number contract. The following year, no problem, because we
Oh,
fixed his
see,
toe.
this is why. So we feel it in how the patient feels, good or bad. And I want you to reflect on this, because I get a lot, and I mean a lot of questions from our adjusted reality audience, and they're fabulous and they're so good to us. But I want to take you back for just a second, because there have been several questions, especially my moms out there that are listening that love you to death, because you think about people as you listen to these podcasts, and then you want to ask more questions to help them be better. And rarely do you take care of yourself as number one. You're always taking care of someone else. But the question came up about the lifestyle of chiropractic and becoming a chiropractor. So I want to ask you this. What would you say to your young self, maybe 15, before you knew anything about chiropractic, being the doctor of chiropractic that you are today? What would you say to that young person that you were, to talk about the potential of becoming a chiropractor? What would you say to yourself now, having all this experience in the sports world and the Olympic athletes and the professional players in every league? What would you say to yourself if you didn't even know you wanted to become a chiropractor? What would you say?
Simply, chiropractic first, and maybe drugs or surgery second, because a good chiropractor can save you from all that and help you understand your body so much better, that that's the investment that you can take to your grave. Hopefully that's in your late 80s, 90s, and hundreds, But, I personally had a very, very challenging experience. If you don't mind, I'll tell you in 60 seconds that I was a wrestler and was in high school and did very well. And so when you ask me what I would say to my younger self, well, I got injured pretty bad during a preseason tournament and injured my neck. I landed on it and I could have won the tournament, but I had to forfeit. And they kept asking me, can you move your fingers? I was fine that way. It wasn't paralyzed, but my neck was so injured that I couldn't continue. I couldn't turn. Back then, we didn't know what it was. And I ended up in a hospital the next morning for 1 week in traction. They took x-rays, they couldn't find anything. And they ended up releasing me with a hard cervical collar for 3 months. I missed the whole season. And Dr. Sherry, I got to tell you, it was a painful story that's part of the reason why I've committed myself to what I do. And that is every youngster that comes into the office, I let them know that there could be another way, or if they don't come into the office, there's another way to take care of this versus drugs or surgery. And I ended up, the pain in my neck was nothing compared to the absolute anguish and pain I would experience every time my team would go out onto the mat and win a tournament. And for the first time ever, go to a state tournament. And the guy that took my place was in state. And I would cry every night, missing that experience for the rest of my life. And I swore to myself, I would never let someone walk away not knowing what's wrong and how we can help and get them better as fast as possible. And that's what I would say to my younger self. Is there another way than
That's
sitting in a
so
hospital?
incredibly, it's a blessing because we grow through what we go through, and you had to grow to help others find their optimized self. And that's really the critical piece. And I want to leave you with to kind of energize our base and know that we love our Adjusted Reality podcast audience because they've been with us now for we're closing in on 100 segments. And we want to thank Sway Healthcare Systems for giving us Podcast of the Year recently. It's a very big honor, but it's our audience. It's you. It's not me. Our guests like Dr. Spencer Barron, who share their heart, their passion, their love, their commitment to what we do every single day. I would like to give you the last word, Dr. Barron, is what is one key takeaway after we have been through this adjusted reality segment that you want your this audience to know about moving forward and how chiropractic in the future for them may be one of those massively impressive opportunities for growth?
The best thing that anybody could do is, again, go to a chiropractor first, get a feel for what they're like. If you feel confident and hopeful, and you said that earlier, is we provide hope. If you feel good, then continue with that. You have a good gut instinct, even if you weren't educated in healthcare as a patient. Find a doctor that's empathetic, that practices what he preaches. If it's someone, if you're pregnant and you're having back pain, don't take medication. Go to a chiropractor, maybe a female that understands pregnancy. And so, and you could have the best experience with labor and delivery, and it opens up a whole new environment for you. You can always end up taking the drugs and getting the surgery, but once you do, you can't undo it. So,
well said. Well said. You can't undo it. Well, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and an inspiration on what chiropractic is and how it really does. It contains the secrets of the game, and that is the book that you will be picking up to read. It's a great read. You can share it with your friends and family, but most importantly, I want to thank you, Dr. Spencer Barron, for sharing your experiences with us today on Adjusted Reality.
Thank you, Dr. Sherry. Appreciate you.
I want to thank you for tuning into Adjusted Reality as we spoke to Dr. Spencer Barron about the important role of chiropractic, especially in sports. As we know, he talks so well about it, and understanding that there's a moment in your life where you're going to have to make a choice investing in you, and the best possible place is now going to be a place where you can have a first choice that potentially is drug-free, that optimizes the whole being and that gives you choices. What would that choice be? Well, I hope that may be chiropractic for you. This podcast was brought to you by the Foundation for Chiropractic Progress. We know life moves pretty fast, and we want to make sure you never miss an episode. So please visit f4cp.org/adjustedreality to subscribe to our newsletter. Interested in hearing from a very specific guest? Well, yes, you can send us your guest recommendations while you're there. Now, don't forget to subscribe, share the podcast with family and friends, rate and review. And if you're feeling inspired to learn more about chiropractic or to find a doctor of chiropractic near you, you can visit f4cp.org/find a doctor. We appreciate your support and look forward to checking in with you again soon.